we go, folks. This is it. The start of the reassembly of the Hotpoint Light'n'Easy, which did look like it had spent a fair amount of time underwater. I think in front of us we have everything we need, all the pieces that needed replacing, and surrounding me out of shot I have many spares. In case we do not, I don't know if the motor is going to work at all. All we can do is start assembling it. So, sit down, relax, and we shall start with the motor. Yes, hello, my vacuum cleaner chums. How are you today? This is either going to go okay or really badly, because the comm looks remarkably sound. However, the cooling fan is not, and has chipped away in a couple of places trying to get it apart. It's a real pain in the bum, but hopefully, you know, it's going to be balanced enough to be okay. So we'd best get started. Or the other problem is this bit broke as well. That is Q-bond on either side of those, and it's actually catching on the inside on the edges of this cooling fan. So what I'm hoping is that when we turn it on, it's going to sound awful for a brief second, and then hopefully be okay. I just also remembered that one of the bolts that I'm missing is one of the first we need. In fact, before we even put that in there, we've got to attach this back to there. First thing we're going to do is take the armature and slide it into place. Then we can put the coil over that, and then put this top retaining bracket over everything else, and then very fiddly, probably should have got these ready before we got to this stage, put these two bolts in. With that firmly into place, we can start to build up the bearing housing for the back of the motor. So we'll pop down a nice new, in fact no, we won't put that down first, will we? We shall put the bushing on, which just needs to be tapped down over the back shaft, and then once tapped onto place, we'll then fit a nice felt pad. Ooh. Doused the whole thing in far too much oil, but it'll splurt out, and we can catch it with a tissue. Better more than less. We can put these fiddly, hateful half screws in, which you need to do while stopping the motor from bouncing up and down, which it will do at this precise second, until these two bolts are in. With that done, and our motor theoretically spinning quite nicely indeed, we can put the carbon brush holders on. And to put them together, we have to push the metal tab, well, it's a little crimp really, into the holder like that, and then the back spring of the carbon brush just pushes against that. Literally all there is to it. They're also flipping dang fiddly until they're together to hold into place, but eventually they go. Then the other side goes on, and then they just screw into place. And there we go, all on, all nice, all spinning. It'll still got to have the fan packing it all out. Talking of the fan, we can now come to this part. Stick this on, and with our nuts and bolts over here, bolt it all into place. With our firewall starting to take shape, we can actually just stick just a little splash of oil on this, not so much for, you know, lubricating it, but to stop it from rusting. Stick a bit down here as well, so that, you know, in case anybody needs to come into here in the future, it might actually undo for them without us having to pretty much smash the whole thing apart. Next we got to find the hole, of which it is there but bigger. Then we can turn the motor spindle, belt spindle, very gingerly on, taking care not to slip anything, break anything, or otherwise damage it even more than it is, because this is the unknown. Come on. Oh, tweak that down and call it done. I mean, hopefully that's going to run okay. You can just hear it catching on one little tiny bit of Q-bond, but we shall hope that that is okay. Now, which way was the cooling on this? I think it was this way. Oh, yeah, forgot. Got to fit this before that, haven't you? Ta-da! Nobody will ever know. Bar that, there's no point in fitting that seal until we get closer to the chassis. So the next thing that I think I'm going to do is take the handle, which is actually a bit loose, but I don't know if I can tighten these screws up at all. No. We'll try that later when the machine's back together. We need to take this inner spinal cable and push the sheathing back into it. Hello, buddy. What parts are you going to take, fly off with and drop somewhere inaccessible today, eh? Yeah? What are you going to do now? Oh. What I'm doing is feeding this very gingerly into here, and then what I'll do is I'll run it up here and come back. Then we can take our very, very nice, washed and polished, and it's currently got a layer of wax curing on it, so that all of this stuff that I'm about to do to it I can buff off. And actually look, I haven't actually wiped off all of the polishing residue from inside, but we need this to go into there like so, where we can start to build up the fun, which is this centre axle. And we start by feeding it actually into this bit here through the spring. Then you've got to peck the whole thing up. Probably better if it was on a jig of some description. Then with this part on this end, thread this through, then through the other side. Come on, line up. And then pretty much it ends up there. The fun part, however, is that there is a circlip which goes here. Oh, just there, look, just by this foot bit there. Oh, are you going to stay there while I crimp you down? Are you? Are you? No, you're not. No, this is where things get very annoying, very fiddly, and very difficult. Because we have to now, we probably should have done this first. Oh, this has to screw on. And it has to screw on onto the chassis. Once you put a little bit of oil on this roller bearing so it doesn't carry on doing that, it sits in its little channel there. Now we've got to tighten this spring, and this is certainly a little bit tricky. This part needs to get under this bit of the handle, and then with lots of prying, levering with other screwdrivers, we can get the spring tensioned under there. And then I'm going to leave a cloth here, because if this springs back it's going to smash our chassis, and probably take my thumb with it. We've got to line this up with the hole. And there is our height control done. Just need to put, a little bit of lube on the bearings and all the moving parts to keep it free from rust and whatnot. And yes, I saw that too. That's a horrible, horrible bottle. Height control next, which in itself is quite simple. I have found a nice spare pedal which hasn't got that bit completely cracked out, and If I remember correctly, the orientation, this is that way, so it doesn't look completely stupid. And then this very fiddly bracket goes on there, and oh, do I have the correct screw? Yes, I do, because obviously it is a machine screw. As soon as you put the machine down, of course, the whole thing does that. So you get it screwed in, and it goes on a little bit like that, and I don't quite like it. It's supposed to, obviously, when you do that, it then holds itself with the rest of the stuff that isn't in there, and in theory keeps itself nice and straight. But we are done. Our handle works very well. It has its angle to it. They all do that, sir. It is literally that spring pushing, warping the whole thing, and look, it even stands up by itself now. But enough of that. Oh, settle down, because it is time to look at the hood, which is also shiny but covered in wax. The first thing to go back into the hood are all of the brush roll retaining clips. We have our lower one, and then, oh, of course you're not going to let me hold you whilst I talk. We have the top ones, which also form the height adjustment for the brush roll, the wear, as it were. Oh, you sit there, you beauty. Yay, things do work. One side. You watch this go completely wrong. Have faith. Oh, I'm doing it wrong-handed now, though. Wrong-handed for me, anyway. Right-handed for somebody else, of course. Yeah, come on. Alrighty. Because it's just easier to do this now than in a minute, when the motor becomes part of this. Oh yeah, if you don't do it then, you forget, and it's a right pain in the bum. We have forgotten something though. We need this look. Our bag holder slash, no, it's not a bag holder, it's the air duct, you know, takes the air and ducts it to somewhere else. It needs its little clamp doing up, which goes onto position. Oh, what's that? Many things should start happening now, because this goes onto here in theory forever. So we'll get the cable out the way, because we need to solder that on in a minute. I shall magically do that off camera, and the whole thing has to sit there with that bit sitting there, because it all then screws together. Oh, we need to bring the rear wheels into the equation as well. But first off, we just need to get this motor centred on the chassis and put the top screws in just enough to hold it into place while we do everything else. With everything loose, because it has to be loose, because you have to move it, we come to the main centre bolts, and I'm having to move a few parts around because some bits just aren't that nice and could do with coming up. So we have our washer on the front, and then we come into here and we have the other washer. This is so fiddly. Then this spacer bar. And then you have next to no room at all to get the other washer through and line it all up to go into the thread, all the while that's happening. Oh, these are such lovely machines. I'm so glad this is the last one. Oh, come on. Actually, oh, wait. We are missing something. We're missing the firewall. I thought we were a bit light. Oh, where's that gone? Why was that not with the rest? I knew it was being too simple. That's all got to go on as well. Oh, these aren't nice. Right, little hack number one is you wrote. Of course, you're blobbing out, aren't you? Why wouldn't you be? Oh, pull that out. Boss number one is to basically stick that little seal onto here, otherwise it will just fall off. You don't have to go crazy with the silicone, just enough to help stick this to it, and of course you follow the old shape of it like so. Then we lay then we lay this down, lining up the two plastic tabs. And for some reason this whole thing's warped, and I've got to push the whole thing ever so slightly sideways to get these top bolts in. Looking a bit more bull nosed now, like it should do. Now we can take our long bolts and pop the correct size washer on the end. Here it is. And then that all goes through the hole. And you put the bigger washer on the other side, find our nicer covers, and then it's still a complete and utter pain in the faff, although we're not left with quite so much bolt at the end, which is what threw me. There's not supposed to be that much left at the end. Oh, come on. Oh, are we done? Let's just gingerly get it started. Ah. What you do is you put those two in and you get something which looks like that. Two nice bars, everything squared up. This bit is catching as it will do, but I'm sure that will be fine. Whew, time is going on, isn't it? We are now ready for, crikey, the trim. And again, we start by slapping the silicone sealant everywhere with abandon, because the original foam seal is completely perished, and there's just no point in caring really when you can just use clear silicone. So we'll get this on. And then this too just slides into place, and clicks together a treat. And there's some screws to go somewhere else as well. The first thing holding this flipping hood on is actually the front wheels, because they're massive bolts. Oh, wrong side. These only go on one side, so if this happens, very simple, just switch over. Marvellous. And then, where's the screwdriver? There's the screwdriver. We can put these screws in, and this is what pulls the hood up nice and tight to the sides of the chassis. Like so. Other side is exactly the same. Hang on, I've got two the same handed. Oh, that'll teach me from rummaging through the spares quickly. It's definitely almost looking like a vacuum cleaner now. We shall put the clips for the belt guard back into place. A fiddly affair involving the remains of these metal clips and some teeny tiny little screws. We can put the brush roll back together now, although I'm not going to fit a belt just yet because I want the motor to run with nothing impeding it at all. And again, to fit the brush roll is fairly simple. We shall use the end caps themselves to help pop those end bits into place, except we won't because they're not doing it, so we shall hit it with a hammer instead, although try not to damage the ends of those. And then, yeah, there you go on, a little bit of fettling needed, and the brush roll will be done. There you go, that side's in. A bit more maybe. Oh, perfection. Look at that. That'll sort itself out in a second, and yeah, this can just sort of go in there for now, and I'll set it up later on. Brush roll in and spinning freely, or as freely as it needs to before the whole thing gets turned on. We can fit our, at the minute, foam less because I don't have any. We should probably look to get some more of that before the final showdown. But hey, the base plate is amazing. It fits on a tool, although I think it might be a bit bent somewhere. Yeah, good enough. Certainly better than it has any right to be. The only thing to do now is for me to connect up all of these wires. It's all been made a bit safer. There's a nice soldery joint somewhere back there. Who knows? Who cares? Now, all we have to care about is might have to take this back off again if the bag holder doesn't line up. I do reserve the right to do that. Let us take some bottom screws and hope that this isn't too destroyed and needs a washer. I forgot we had to manhandle this a little bit, didn't we? Ah, you're caught in the base plate. Gosh, I should be alright. If it's not, then yeah, like I say, a little washer on the head is going to sort it out. But no, that's just pulled itself in regardless. I won't say done evenly because this twists as they go on. The bottom is done, and core blimey, it is looking a lot better. I think we're now done with the bottom half completely, so we can buff off the wax. I suppose we'll get it looking nice and shiny because we can put our furniture guard on without it getting caught up in all the wax. It will have another coat before the final video, I am sure. Oh, these bumpers are a bit of an annoyance as well because you have to get, you know, just the right bit of it on, but it soon pops itself together, and then you just got to chase it all around and make it match, which I will do off camera. Yeah, it's there, look, that flips edge. It flips the top and the bottom. It's very annoying. They put that on and we are ready to start up at the handle now. On to all of this stuff now, which, oh gosh, is annoying because now of course the whole machine is going to be sprung and springy. Oh, but I think the first port of call is to just put the switch back onto the handle like so. All of this stuff we need to put back together first before we remember where the heck it all goes. I should probably look at the pictures to remind myself, because I'm sure this has something to do with it, and it is a bit different to the others, so I shall re-familiarise myself. Jumping forward a little bit because that was very difficult to do one-handed. Our switch is now all wired up to the handle, so we can bring this together and hopefully with a little bit of tucking and prying and persuading in to the various little housings that things run very near. Oh, come on, little white cable. Why don't you be a pain? Let me get that in place and the handle in, and in theory it should all stuff onto there. With the handle now fully in place, we can tuck this insulating piece, I suppose it is, back into the handle. I think like that. No, like this, wouldn't it? Because then the screw tab goes over there. this sits on there. We want our bag hook screw. Which just screws on nicely into place once you have put the top part into the handle. Got that bit. Oh, come on. Okay. Beautiful. That's it. That's screwing down nicely. Oh, we can flip the machine over now. God, look at the state back here. Look, this is the real thing. We can now fit the bag housing to the bottom, and this is where we need to hope that all the screws still line up and that everything is still in its place. And we'll soon know, because it'll either go tight or it won't. One there, one at the top. No, one at the top. Come on, you do want to be holding this thing together again, don't worry. You're not going to be kept in a horrible wet dampness. No, no, no. We'll get all of these screws in. With the bag now fitted, we can take our bag holder, I suppose, and fish out the bag fill tube. Stick it on. Oh, this SEBO bag looks tiny, bless it. It is tiny. Wow. Maybe it's not an X bag. Maybe it's a Felix or similar. I don't care. It will do for all the use that this machine is ever going to get. Equally, a lot of it is pulled up there. There we go. That will do. That can go in there, and we can do the bag up. And crikey, it looks rather like a vacuum cleaner again, rather than something that has probably been in a pond. The only thing left to do now is to make this a little bit more attached to this, like so. Our swebline plug is pluggy once more, with the pins, of course, polished on the wire wheel on the bench grinder, so they look really, really nice. Ooh, look at that! It's back, folks. It is. We have done it. We have made the one that was pretty much underwater into actually a really, really good one. There's a couple more things to do. We mainly need to fit a belt, don't we? And this now doesn't involve us possibly getting tetanus. We can just flip it over and remove the base plate. And yes, I bought some, and it came some felt, just double sided, just sticky felt strip really, around the edge to form and seal. Oh, that's just push this from the top, I think, because we do not have a belt fitted. The only belt, slightly annoyingly, that I can lay my hands on is this, which I was actually saving for a Hoover Junior. This is the state of buying decent spares for, well, Hoover Juniors, ignore this, in 2021, because I paid £3 posted for this, and quite honestly I was quite impressed with that. These are getting tricky to find new old stock, and the replacement ones, well, it's a bit of a shame again, because they can make a Dyson belt that costs you 75p delivered that lasts very well, yet they cannot make a small circular piece of rubber better than Hoover themselves did in England in whenever it was. Look, it's even got, I don't know if it will focus, but yeah, look, Hoover, the part number. Also shows how much Hotpoint copied the absolute living crud out of the Hoover Junior, because yes, this is the belt that we need. I suppose I should be too upset about using this belt, because the Junior that it was earmarked belongs to Mr. Ritchie as well, so nah, I imagine we'll just be borrowing this back very shortly anyway. Oh, now I've got to get it on alongside that side. This is a lot trickier than on a Hoover Junior. See, this is where nothing's changed. The copies of the originals are really better. Ow. Sharp plastics. See, now my finger's the wrong way round, but if I because I'm sat, I need to be over the top of it. Ah, there we go. Then once you get it, oh, that's tight. Ow, 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 oh! Oh my goodness. My fat fingers won't roll it over the spindle. Ah, crikey. Maybe this isn't right. Oh. Ah, it's on it. Ah, it's not. Ah. Don't want to put any pressure on the hood. Oh, let me get this on. Ah, my poor hands. Oh, that. I was less hurt doing the cam belt on my car. Whew, that edge there. Ugh. Also, we're not actually using the genuine Hoover Junior belt. We will see this another day. It doesn't stretch, obviously, where it's so good. It literally, you stretch it to a point and you can feel it going, nope. And it was doing that just before the belt spindle. So I did go and hunt out I knew I had it. I was just too lazy to go and find it. I hunted out the pattern belt, which is well, not much stretchier, but a bit stretchier. Oh, now we get to put the base plate on, and oh, I'm going to tell you folks, it's not nice because it's so thin. It doesn't actually click into place. In fact, that was what I was going to do. Might have to help it a little bit because it's on. It might be okay. We shall see. Oh my goodness. Look at the state of it. You can't look like that. It's time to turn you on for the first time and see if it works. Here we go. I mean, I guess it's only the armature that is original about the whole motor, but hey, we won't let small details like that get in our way. So there we go. I don't know how useful this is going to be. This is more just a historical reference of how to strip and refurbish a machine that was built to be disposable. This was the beginning of the throwaway culture. These were cheap, they weren't designed to last. This is basically the equivalent of in 2040 or 2050, if I am still alive and making YouTube videos, or whoever takes on the baton from me, it being the resident collecting screwdriver monkey, they'll pick up a Vax Air from 2015, 2016, and do the same with it, and it will literally be the spiritual version of me doing this today. Wow. So there we go. From trash to treasure. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.